The Catholic Church in Malaysia is part of the worldwide Catholic Church, under the spiritual leadership of the Pope in Rome. The position of Apostolic Nuncio to Malaysia has been vacant since October 11, 2019. The resident ambassador of Malaysia to the Holy See is Westmoreland Anak Edward Palon.The. The first Catholic priests landed in Malacca in 1511 as military chaplains to the Portuguese. The missionaries were Franciscan and Dominican friars. Malacca New Role became a stopover for the thousands of missionaries who spread the faith to South and Far East Asia. Till today, small Christian communities are found in these places due to its missionary zest. Malacca holds a special place in the history of the Church in this region. From the 7th to the 14th century, numerous small kingdoms which were strongly Hindu existed at river mouths. The Srivijaya Empire extended its great influence to the region. In 1403, a prince from Sumatra, Parmesvarar, founded Malacca. He converted to Islam and took the name of Sri Maharaja Muhammad Shah. The year 1511 was marked with the arrival of Portuguese led by Admiral Afonso de Albuquerque and the first Catholic chaplains. The Portuguese captured Malacca for its well-known spice trade. Between 1545 and 1552, Saint Francis Xavier preached in Malacca. By 1557, Malacca was raised to a suffragancy, deputy diocese. In 1641, the occupation of Malacca by the Dutch began and the authorities in power suppressed Catholicism. The bishops and priests fled to Timor. In 1786, Sir Francis Lai took over Penang from the Sultan of Kedah. Finally in 1809, the College General in Penang was opened again and seminarians from all over Asia came to be trained there. In 1819, Sir Stanford Raffles took residence in Singapore. In 1824, the Anglo-Dutch Treaty is signed and the Netherlands exchanged Malacca for Bencoolen, Indonesia. Later, in 1826, Penang, Province Wellesley, Malacca and Singapore became the Straits Settlement under British rule. In 1852, the Sisters of St. Maur or the Infant Jesus Sisters, IJ, and the Institute of the Brothers of the Christian Schools, La Salle Brothers, sailed over to found Christian schools in major towns in peninsular Malaysia. The sisters also began orphanages. In 1864, Chinese tin miners settled at the confluence of the muddy Klang and Gombak River mouth, the beginning of Kuala Lumpur. In 1874, the Treaty of Pankar marked the direct British rule over the Malay states. The sultans maintained religious sovereignty. By the end 19th century, Malaysia was affected by massive immigration of Chinese and Indians who were invited to work in the tin mines, rubber plantation, and railways by the British. Catholicism first came to North Borneo when a Spanish mariner turned priest, Reverend Monsignor Carlos Cordoran, established a Catholic mission in 1857 in Labuan, with stations established in Brunei and Lukpuran, now Kota Kinabalu. However, problems with his assistants left him alone from 1860 and the mission made little progress, and he returned to Spain. The Catholic Mill Hill missionaries arrived in North Borneo in 1882 to re-establish the Spaniards' effort, and focused mainly on the Chinese and indigenous communities, such as the Kadazan Dusun people. Meanwhile in Sarawak, the Mill Hill missionaries was invited by the White Rajas in the hope that it would be a stabilizing influence to the native Iban people. During the Second World War and the Communist insurrection, the Catholic Church suffered many persecutions, but nevertheless maintained. During the years 1942 to 1945 of the Second World War and the Japanese occupation, schools were closed, and the people suffered a lot. In the years 1948 to 1960, the communist insurrection was very hostile to the Catholic Church. On February 1, 1948, the Federation of Malaya government was formed. In 1955, the two dioceses of Kuala Lumpur and Penang were created and the consecration of first local bishops Dominic Vindargan and Francis Chan took place. In 1957, on August 31, Malaya gained independence, and the first Prime Minister Tunku Abdul Rahman was appointed. In 1962, Pope John XI called for the renewal of the Church and opened the Second Vatican Council. On September 16, 1963, a big country uniting Malaysia with Singapore, Sabah, and Sarawak was created, but by 1965, Singapore broke up with Malaysia and became an independent republic. On May 13, 1969, racial violence and killings were recorded in the aftermath of the elections. A state of emergency was declared and a curfew imposed. In 1970, the new economic policy was introduced with quota systems. Over the decade, Christians were discriminated against and Catholic and other Christian missionaries were expelled from Sabah. However, in 1972, the new Diocese of Malacca Johor was created, making a total of 6 in Malaysia, 3 in the west, and 3 in eastern Malaysia. In 1973, Malaysia became the first ASEAN country to recognize China. In the years 1970 to 1975, the resurgence of communist activities in the north and in urban centers created more political mayhem and led to persecutions against the Christians. Yet in 1974, the first permanent deacon from Malaysia was ordained. Between 1975 and 1980, Vietnamese refugees, boat people, arrived in throngs and put a new stress on the country. In 1976, a month-long adjournamento, in Penang, for bishops and priests of West Malaysia was held. A vision for the Peninsular Malaysia Church was formulated. Parallel to the economical and industrial development of the nation, the Catholic Church in Malaysia grew considerably during these years, emphasizing on interreligious dialogue, ecumenism, and religious freedom. In 1977, the first Catholic Charismatic Convention was organized in Ipoh. In 1979, the Asian Bishops' Institute for Social Action met in Kuala Lumpur for dialogue on religions. Between 1977 and 1981, a number of Muslim activists were arrested by the authorities. Fundamentalism was on the rise. In 1981, a new gathering of all priests from West Malaysia to review the adjournamento of 1976 was organized. In 1983, the Malaysian Consultative Council on Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Sikhism, MCCBCHS, for dialogue was formed to represent their interests with the authorities. There was a constitutional upheaval with the powers of the king being amended. In the same way and with a spirit of ecumenism, the Christian Federation of Malaysia, consisting of the Catholic, Protestant and Evangelical churches, was formed in 1984. In 1985, Malaysia built its own Proton Saga car, which signified Malaysia's world recognition as a newly industrialized country. In 1986, the Peninsular Malaysia Pastoral Convention, PMPCI, included ministry to youth as part of the core needs, besides poor, interreligious dialogue, unity, formation and community building. In 1987, opposition leaders, church and NGO workers were arrested under the Internal Security Act, ISA, during Operation Lolang. In 1989, Sarawak made huge efforts in a successful attempt of renewal with a Eucharistic Congress, a Bible year and a Bible Congress. In 1990, a signature campaign against the imposition of Islamic law on non-Muslims was organized. In 1991, racial and religious polarization issues became a hot political debate during the election campaign. Economical, technological, and social progress culminated with Vision 2020, the way forward announced by the Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad in 1992. In 1995, churches in Sarawak requested the state to allow other faith education in schools besides Islam. In 1996, PMPA2 gathered reviews and reaffirmed Adjournamento 1976 and PMPC 1986. There was a renewed call for systematic and strategic planning and implementation. In 1998, the Deputy Prime Minister was arrested and the Reformasi movement started. In 1999, the Great Jubilee Year of Redemption was declared open by Pope John Paul II. In 2000, the Malaysian Human Rights Commission or Suhakam was formed. The first joint community spirituality retreat among bishops, priests, religious and laity was organized. In 2001, the first Peninsula Malaysia Young Catholic Leaders Forum or LEAD 2001 was organized. PMPA3 was held at Kuala Lumpur, re-emphasized Bex. C. Holy See, Malaysia Relations. Diplomatic relations between Malaysia and the Holy See was initiated by Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad when he met Pope John Paul II before his, Tun Mahathir, resignation. The negotiations were going on until Najib bin Razak became the Prime Minister. Malaysia established formal diplomatic relations with the Holy See in 2011 during a meeting between Prime Minister Datuk Seri Panglima Najib Razak and Pope Benedict XVI in Rome. Najib was accompanied by the Archbishop of Kuala Lumpur, Most Reverend Murphy Nicholas Xavier Pakayam. Archbishop Pakayam went to Vatican not as part of Malaysian government. He was asked by Vatican to join the delegation as church representative. The first resident ambassador of Malaysia to the Holy See, Tan Sri Bernard Galak Dampak, was elected in October 2015 by Pope Francis. 2017 marked the opening of the official chancery of the Holy See in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Following the loss of Barisan Nasional in the 14th general election, Bernard Gillick Dampak was terminated of his service on 3 June 2018. Westmoreland Edward Palon, who was named by Wisma Putra as second Malaysia's ambassador to the Vatican on March 21, is a Bidayuh who hails from Kampung Duras, Kuching. As of 2010, there are 1,007,643 Catholics in Malaysia, approximately 3.56% of the total population. The country is divided into 9 dioceses including 3 archdioceses. Archdiocese of Kuala Lumpur, Diocese of Malacca Johor, Diocese of Penang, Archdiocese of Kuching, Diocese of Miri, Diocese of Sabun, Archdiocese of Kota Kinabalu, Diocese of Keningau, Diocese of Sandakan. The Catholic Church in Malaysia has its own newspaper, The Herald, a weekly Catholic newspaper distributed to all Catholic churches nationwide around Malaysia. Sabah and Sarawak also have their own local newspaper publications such as Catholic Sabah, fortnightly, and Today's Catholic, monthly. His Eminence Anthony Soter Fernandez, Malaysia's first Roman Catholic cardinal, elevated on November 19, 2016. Tan Sri Datuk Seri Panglima Bernard Gillick Dampak, the first ambassador of Malaysia to the Holy See, Vatican City. Dato Hanzai's actor, producer, director, and former model. Pandalela Ridog, national diver and a 2-time Olympic medalist. Yang Amat of Tan Sri Datuk Seri Panglima Richard Melanjan, the 9th Chief Justice of Malaysia. Teresa Koch, Member of Parliament for Seputeh and also former Minister for Primary Industry.